Since we're going to be talking about the nucleus of atoms, it's useful to have some words we can use to describe the nucleus. First of all, let's simplify our picture of the nucleus so it's easier to count the protons and neutrons. And let's just look at a small part of the periodic table. This is a nucleus of a boron atom. It has 5 protons in red and 5 neutrons in blue. It's the 5 protons that makes it boron. Notice that in the periodic table, boron is element number 5. When we're talking about nucleuses, we put a little number at the bottom left of our element symbol to remind us how many protons that nucleus has. Note that it's at the bottom left. In chemistry, we put a little number at the bottom right to indicate how many atoms there are in a molecule. They don't mean the same thing. Fortunately, they're rarely used in the same place at the same time. We call this little number the atomic number because it tells you the element of which atom it is in the periodic table. It's equal to the nuclear charge because each proton has an electric charge of +1 if we say electrons have an electric charge of -1. Carbon has an atomic number of 6. The 6 protons in every carbon nucleus are what makes it carbon, and it's element number 6 in the periodic table. Nitrogen has an atomic number of 7. The 7 protons in every nitrogen nucleus are what makes it nitrogen, and it's element number 7 in the periodic table. As well as its 5 protons, this boron nucleus also has 5 neutrons. Protons and neutrons have roughly the same mass, so we say the mass number of this boron nucleus is 10. Using these two numbers, the atomic number and the mass number, we can define any nucleus. The atomic number tells us the number of protons, and therefore what element it is, and the mass number tells us the total number of protons and neutrons. For short, we'd call this nucleus boron 10. Here are 2 carbon nucleuses. You can tell they're both carbon because they both have 6 protons, but they have different numbers of neutrons. One has 6 neutrons, giving it a mass number of 12. The other has 8 neutrons, giving it a mass number of 14. If you wanted to ask which variety of carbon nucleus we were talking about, you'd ask, which isotope of carbon are we talking about? Isotope means same place in the periodic table. They're both carbon, but they have different masses, so they're different isotopes. Carbon-12 is the most common isotope of carbon, but in the atmosphere, about 1 carbon atom in a trillion is the isotope carbon-14. Here is a carbon-14 nucleus and a nitrogen-14 nucleus. These are both isotopes, they're just not isotopes of the same element. Carbon-14 is an isotope of carbon. Nitrogen-14 is an isotope of nitrogen. It's the 6 protons that makes carbon-14 carbon, and it's the 7 protons that makes nitrogen-14 nitrogen.